What the heck's the difference between an assessed value, an appraised value, and market value? Well, you don't get to pick any of them, so you better know what the difference is. What three things all sound the exact same, dramatically affect your real estate future, and which you likely don't understand? No, I'm not talking about your past realtors, I'm talking about values today. So we're gonna go over assessed, appraised, and market value, and how each one of them are determined and how they can affect you. And just the kicker, the last one can blow up your deal in an instant, so you're definitely gonna wanna understand that. My name's Joe Carmack, I'm a realtor in the Twin Cities, and I put out helpful videos like this every single week, so make sure you subscribe on YouTube and like us on Facebook. First, let's talk about assessed values. Now, this is the one that generally doesn't affect us much when you're buying or selling. Realtors give really no weight to what your assessed value is on the property, but it can definitely affect you as far as what your payment is every month, because the assessed value is how your property taxes are determined. So that tax assessor will take the value they've given your home, times it by the tax rate that's been decided on by voting and everything else, and then that number is what determines what your property taxes are that you pay every year. That's part of your mortgage payment that's automatically coming out for you. So if the assessed value goes up, which it will over time naturally, then you're gonna see an increase in the taxes that you do, and that's why your mortgage payment could change slightly. It's not generally very significant, except for if you do, let's say, a major kitchen remodel. You'll pull permits, and then once the city signs off on those permits, that will trigger the assessor's office to come back in, reevaluate what your home's value is, and it will very likely jump from that point. Typically what I see, and it's not always the case, but typically the tax assessor's value is generally less than market value, and it seems to me like they bump it up in a slower increment, less than home appreciations are at generally. So that may vary, but generally the trend I see is that your assessed value will be less than your market value, but again, it can jump if you do any major home repairs. Second, we're going to talk about market value. Now, that's generally what I'll determine for you as a realtor. And for what it's worth, every realtor could give a slightly different opinion of what your home's market value is. We will look at all the different comps that have sold in an area. If the person's going to be listing their home soon, I'll also look at active and pending to see where we're trending. You know, the past sales will give us what they actually closed at, but actives will tell us what our current competition is so that we can price your home to sell really well. So of course, when you have 5 different agents, they may all give you a slightly different interpretation of that data. And generally, obviously, it's not necessarily the highest number that's the best number, but that will effectively determine what your home is listed at. Now, what we're really that's our estimation for your market value, but ultimately the final say in market value isn't determined by you or by myself as an agent. It's actually determined by the buyers in your market. So it's really the highest dollar amount that a current buyer is ready, willing, and able to pay for your home once it's listed. Now, of course, you're wondering, how is that number going to be affected? Well, as the seller, your job is really to get the home in the best condition that's going to be as desirable as possible for those prospective buyers that'll come into the market. And my job as an agent is to help you do that. So that's why we hire a stager, a videographer, professional photos, so that our stager can help you get the home ready. You can see exactly what to do. Maybe you should brighten the light in this room, or get rid of some of the furniture in that room, declutter the counters, something like that. They'll help you get it ready, and then we'll take the product that you give us, and then we will get the highest perceived value with all of our marketing, the highest exposure out there, and ultimately together we'll work together to create the highest market value for you as we possibly can. Finally, number 3 is that appraised value. So that comes into play after we've gotten your home under contract for sale. Again, we've done everything we can to get the market value as high as possible. Then the bank will come in, they'll hire an appraiser to determine if the appraiser agrees that we've sold it, that market value is in fact fair market value for that home. Now, ultimately, again, whatever the buyer is willing to pay, that's market value. But banks don't want to overlend so that the person could be more likely to be upside down on their mortgage. It's higher risk for them. So then they bring in an appraiser. An appraiser is a completely independent third party. I have basically no contact with them. The bank has no contact with them. There's a third party company that handles the appraisal requests. And the reason for that is so that no one can really influence what the appraiser's decision is. So just as with multiple agents might give a different value on your market value, an appraiser will then have to determine if they agree with our sale price. If they do, which is typically the case, everything moves forward with the sale, and we usually don't have any issues with appraised values. However, let's say we had listed your home for $300,000 and we sold it for $350,000, right? It's typically when we sell way over our list price that then the appraiser is going to look at it and say, nope, I think it's worth more like $325, right? So they'll give their recommendation that the appraised value is $325. We will then have to renegotiate. Typically, either the seller will come down on their price or the buyer will bring additional cash to closing. Not to worry about all that. I'll walk you through some options and we'll negotiate really well to get each client the best terms that's fair for them. But ultimately, we thought the home was worth $300. We were able to sell it crazy high, and so then we'll generally meet in the middle so that both parties are reasonably happy. So there you go. That's what you need to know about assessed, appraised, and market values. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. My name's Joe Carmack. Thanks so much for watching.